You wake up burning with fever. Your throat feels like it's closing. There is no pharmacy down the street. There is no doctor on call. For most of human history, this was simply what illness meant. No antibiotics, no hospitals, no germ theory to even explain what was happening inside your body. Just you, your pain, and the people around you deciding what to do next. So what did they actually do? Not nothing. That's the part most people get wrong. For decades, the assumption was brutal and simple. If you got sick or hurt badly enough in the ancient world, you were left behind. Natural selection did the work. The weak didn't survive, and the group moved on without them. But the evidence buried in the ground tells a very different story. In 1957, archaeologists digging in a cave called Shanidar in the mountains of northern Iraq uncovered the skeleton of a Neanderthal man who lived roughly 45,000 years ago. Researchers labeled him Shanidar I. When anthropologist Eric Trinkus later studied his bones closely, what he found didn't fit the left-behind theory at all. This man was blind in one eye. His right arm had been withered or amputated below the elbow, likely years before he died. He showed signs of a limp and hearing loss in both ears. By almost any measure, he should not have been able to hunt, gather, or defend himself. And yet his bones show he lived for years after these injuries. Someone fed him. Someone helped him move. Someone kept him alive long after he stopped being useful in the way we assume ancient life demanded. Care wasn't a modern invention. It was already here, tens of thousands of years before agriculture, before writing, before anything we'd recognize as medicine. But care alone doesn't explain everything. What about the sickness itself? What about pain, infection, a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding? This is where the evidence gets even stranger. In 2012, a research team led by archaeologist Karen Hardy examined something almost nobody thinks to study: the hardened dental plaque on Neanderthal teeth from a site called El Ciderón in northern Spain. Trapped inside that ancient plaque were microscopic plant fragments, preserved for over 45,000 years. What they found included chamomile and yarrow. Both plants are bitter. Neither one offers meaningful calories or nutrition. If you were only eating for taste or energy, you would have every reason to avoid them. But both plants have documented medicinal properties, well known in traditional medicine for reducing inflammation and easing digestive pain, even today. Hardy's team argued this wasn't an accident of diet. This looked like self-medication, deliberate and repeated, by a species we once assumed acted on instinct alone. Now picture it, not an abstraction. A real scene. A Neanderthal woman doubled over with stomach pain finds a patch of yarrow near the riverbank. She has eaten it before, when the same pain came before. She chews it slowly, grimacing at the bitterness, because she has learned or been taught that the discomfort now saves her worse discomfort later. Nearby, someone tends a small fire. Someone else keeps watch. This is not a solitary animal enduring pain alone. This is a small society already practicing something that looks unmistakably like medicine. And sickness wasn't only treated with plants. Sometimes it was treated with something far more drastic. Trepanation is the practice of cutting or scraping a hole directly into a living person's skull. It sounds like torture. In many cases, remarkably, it wasn't fatal. The first serious scientific study of ancient trepanned skulls came from French physician Paul Broca in the 1870s, examining Neolithic remains found across Europe. What stunned him wasn't just that people were doing this. It was that the bone around many of these holes showed clear signs of healing. Smooth, rounded edges, new bone growth. That only happens if the patient survived the operation, sometimes by years. Why would anyone do this? Some researchers believe it was used to treat severe head trauma, seizures, or unbearable head pain by relieving pressure inside the skull. Others believe it carried a spiritual meaning, a way to release what people believed was trapped inside a suffering mind. Possibly, it was both. Either way, Someone was performing careful, repeatable surgery on a living human skull, using tools made of stone, tens of thousands of years before the word medicine existed in any language. So here's the counterintuitive twist. We tend to imagine ancient healthcare as primitive, as almost non-existent, a world where the sick simply suffered until they didn't. The archaeology says the opposite. Long before doctors, before hospitals, before germ theory explained why any of this worked, ancient humans were already testing plants for medicinal effects, caring for the disabled for years at a time, and performing surgery precise enough to be survivable. They didn't understand why chamomile reduced inflammation. They didn't know what an infection actually was, but they observed. They tried things. They remembered what worked, and they passed that knowledge on, generation after generation, long before anyone wrote a single word down. That's not primitive. That's the earliest version of exactly what you do the next time you're sick. You take medicine you didn't invent, made from ingredients you don't fully understand, because someone before you tested it and it worked. You go to a doctor who learned from someone else's careful observation, passed down and refined for centuries. You get cared for, even when you're not being useful, because the people around you decided your life mattered anyway. The tools have changed almost beyond recognition. A hospital looks nothing like a cave in Shanidar. An antibiotic looks nothing like chewed yarrow leaves. But the underlying instinct hasn't moved an inch in 45,000 years. Someone gets sick. Someone else decides they're worth saving. You wake up burning with fever, and somewhere, someone is already reaching for something that might help. That instinct is not new. It is one of the oldest things about being human.